So let's get started, please. Good morning, everyone. Good morning for those who are also online with us, joining us um, all over Europe. We are a project, an international project that we have partners from Czechia, from Italy, and from Spain. We are representing the project in Portugal. My name is Ruben Figueira. The project is the VIRIDIS LOCI. It is an Erasmus Plus funded project. We will start now with a presentation from our colleagues from Italy, and they will have now the floor because we are also a little bit late. So, please. Just for those who are here with us, we do have a little bit of lag because we are transmitting live to the stream to YouTube and Facebook. So the change of the slides will be a bit late, but be patient with us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so good morning to everyone. It's so nice to be here in Funchal for the first time and to get in touch with you. I'm presenting just a bit of this project, VIRIDIS LOCI, green spaces. VIRIDIS LOCI is a Latin phrase that means green spaces, but it's Latin. Why Latin? Because we wanted to highlight the common, let's say, origin of Italy, Spain, and Portugal that are the country involved in the project. Anci Sardegna is the project coordinator. Fito Consul that I'm representing with Daniel today is technical partner for Italy. Then there is Ariam that you all know. ATM Consulting is a well-known Italian environmental consultancy firm. ABA is a Czech no-profit organization that is keen in training, and then Felib from Spain. Let's say that it's not. Okay, let's say that in the last 10 years, 15 years in Europe, many projects were done about safety. When we speak about trees, about forestry, about management of green area, we speak about safety. And one of the most preoccupation of European Union is to let people be safe while working. And today we still have about 20 deaths over 1,100 workers in Europe. Of course, there are countries that are very well. For example, you don't have any fatalities in the Netherlands, while in Germany and in Romania, you have quite a lot of fatalities. So we have still to improve, and we have still to understand why this happened. The main reason is that we are in lack of formation. So despite all the efforts that the European Union is putting, one of the main causes of death and accident is the inadequate training that workers have in Europe, but also in Asia. So a lot of has to be done. And in this ABA, that is the no-profit association that is working with us, is very keen, because in the last 10 years, ABA has done a lot of projects regarding safety. For example, about chainsaw, about, let's say, the use of the proper use of technical tools, just to assure the good of the safety of the user. We went to Spain, we went in many places just to understand why fatalities happen and how to prevent them. However, we are now at the point that we can train a worker to properly use a chainsaw in a safe way, but we have to focus now on the proper use of chainsaw. Here in Funchal, we saw quite a lot of green areas that are very well maintained. We were really impressed by the quality of green spaces, by tropical trees that are very unusual to us from the north part of Italy. But it's not always like this, and we have to provide to municipalities and to people working in the field to qualitative opportunities just to understand how to prune a tree, how to work in a qualitative way, not only in a safe way. Just a second. What is happening? Because mainly these pictures are from Italy. Out in the field, most of the time you see bad prunings, you see bad jobs done in a very bad ways. And so, for example, we know that at least 40% of new plantation, of new trees, are dead in a year, within a year. So we have to improve these statistics, because otherwise all the effort we put in urban greenery is greenwashing. So it's just a waste of money just for marketing reason, but with no result for people. In the last year, many European and international directives put the focus on urban trees as one of the main solutions to climate change. For example, you have to know that in the next 8 years, we have to plant at least 3 billion additional trees in Europe. That is a massive amount of trees. We have also to find out where to find 3 billion of trees, because it's not at all easy. And for example, that each city, so Funchal too, and each city with more than 20,000 inhabitants have to develop these urban green plans. That is, however, still unknown to most of the city in Europe. And so it seems that that is a great time to speak about trees, to speak about plantation of trees. We have a lot of opportunities, but we don't want to end like this. So in asymmetries of trees, because the risk is real, and we have to avoid that. And we have to avoid that by training people to work in a good way. And so here we are with our VIRIDIS LOCI project that started a few months ago. So we are still in the first phases of the project. The project will end at the end of 2024 with 6 European partners and 7 project results. You have to take in mind that it's the largest project of this kind, because altogether we can count on 455 municipalities in this area. That, of course, will be not all involved, because we are taking some sample of municipalities, with a population overall of 3 million people. The main mission of the project is to improve the continuous and available path to upskill technicians and avoid any problems in the future. For example, we went for the first transnational meeting in Cagliari. That is one of the main cities in Sardinia. Very nice city, very big trees, a lot of ficus. But for example, this is just an example. It's not well done, but this man that parked the car under the tree is offering landscaping, tree pruning, laundry service, and then building services. So a lot of services. I mean, you cannot be a laundryman and an arborist at the same time and assuring a proper tree care to the tree in the city. This is a basic information, a basic knowledge, but we have to let these people that are, they are in good faith, just to work with a proper technical and safety knowledge. This is the aim of the project in the end. And so we went to 3 particular territory in Europe, very, very well, that are very good, that are Madeira, Sardinia, and Mallorca. We mainly think to these places as a vacation place, okay? But the thing is that most of the time these places have also some problems, of course, as every area. Of course, we all know where we are with the map, and we understand this kind of problem. So there is a rural vs urban contraposition. We are facing cuts and cuts to budget, okay? So budget allocation. We face, especially in small municipalities, a lack of people and competencies. I mean, when a municipality has, for example, 500 people living there, and the municipality has mainly just one technician that has to take care of building construction, of cemeteries, of everything, of roads and so on. Urban forestry and urban greening is just a small part of its working hours, and it's not feasible, it's not possible that he has competencies. We want to develop some guidelines, some useful tools just to fill this gap and help these people in having a, let's say, positive environment within our cities. Mainly also to solve the problem of COVID and transport limitation, we will do an online platform where to upload this kind of material. Of course, there are many differences between Sardinia, Madeira, and Balearic Island in terms of people, in terms of environment, in terms of plants and whatever. So we have to find out the common point and to work on that, just to assure that we can have a positive guidelines. For the first, we did a survey just as a first activity, just to find out the real life and how is the situation. And we had quite a good results, very, very impressive, just to understand how is the situation. Of course, this is just a mean of all the result, but we found out that most of the municipalities don't have tree inventories. They want to be involved in training operation. They have, most of them don't have a tree risk assessment that is seen as a priority in most of the municipality, because we have to deal with risk and we have to deal with fatalities, because it may happen that tree falls. And so we have to work with this kind of things. The most recurrent topics that we had so far, speaking with the municipalities, are that one. So safety, risk assessment, and then since we had quite a hard summer, we had problem with water, and so the water management and how to assure water. I mean, maybe in Rain Funchal you don't have this kind of problems, because it seems all quite green and quite a lot of rain, as also Ariam told us yesterday. But in other part of Mediterranean area, water is an issue. And then, of course, how to do an inventory, how to develop a tree risk assessment, how to develop a urban forest plan, how to select trees, how to solve some problem. For example, the conflict between roots and building. It seems that many people don't want to walk on a road with roots, with a lot of palms with roots. So, I mean, also technical things that we have to solve. Again, we will put all the material online. As per every Erasmus Plus project, we are glad of assuring free accessibility to all the materials because it's paid by the European Union. Last, this is another example. You can see, for example, Sardinia is the biggest island we have in our partnership. But also in Balearic Island, you have many islands, you have big distances, it's not easy to move due to COVID, due to bad transportation, due to the rural places. And for example, if you take a train and cross Sardinia, you have about 6 hours of time, so a lot. And to solve this gap, we want to assure a full availability of online tools just to solve this gap and to let people stay at home and learn. So that's it. I hope that is clear. And now I think that someone else will take care of the rest of the project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So okay, I will continue. I will continue with the presentations. I will. It's not this one. Sorry, it's this one. Okay, I will explain a little bit of the multifunctional urban green spaces at Madeira and Porto Santo, at our region. For those who doesn't know us or doesn't know our location, we are at the Atlantic Ocean. We do have 740 square kilometers in Madeira Island and around 42 square kilometers in Porto Santo Island. A population of approximately 250,000 inhabitants, divided through 11 municipalities. Our weather is considered subtropical weather with high humidity and mid temperatures. A little bit of the reality of Madeira Island. Our orography is very rude, so we do have a lot of clients. Being separated with the north coast and the south, and the principal characteristics for it is that in the north coast we have so high cliffs and very dense flora. The south coast have the most, the biggest number of the population distributed in our island. Its climate conditions are favorable for flora from all over the world. We are well known since the beginning of the discovery from South America, South Africa, and also Asia. We are known as the door for the flora in Europe. And we experiment along the island. We do have some microclimates that we can experiment on different stations of the weather during one day, only one day. And of course, we do have an endemic forest that is Laurisilva da Madeira, that is also considered a forest that can bring from Macaronesia regions, and so that we do have a specific one that is Laurisilva of Madeira, but yeah, it's very common at Macaronesia regions. Porto Santo Island, for the other hand, is a very different kind of situation. It's considered a flat island. Compared to Madeira, it's a flat island. It's characterized to have thin vegetation with poor soils, not good for the plantation of trees, of some specific species of trees, not so good for agriculture also, because it's a dry landscape and a very scarce water resource. Its tourism seasonality, in the summer we can have 3-4 times more the population that lives in Porto Santo, and the main tree at the green spaces is the palm tree. So these are a few examples of You just need to wait a little bit. It's a few examples of the names of the green spaces that we have here in Madeira. We are well known. We just look at the window when we see very green spaces. We are very known to have this kind of spaces and to be very clean and to be very able to everyone to visit. Okay, these are a few examples, a few names here, but we have so many more. These are different 4 types of green spaces. One of them is the public, that is open 24 hours a day, public open during the day, private with some public visits, paying or not, and private with no public visits, private. Okay. The green spaces in Madeira region are home to various monumental trees. And we need to save this heritage, and we need to manage in order to prevent accidents to all of us, unfounded tree removal, drastic pruning, excessive use of pesticides, the control and management of pests, and current constraints to plant monumental trees. What is about the multifunctional urban green spaces? Well, what we need to say is that we do have 4 pillars that we will like, and I will explain it a little bit on today. So we do have the socioeconomy and inclusion, environment, climate change, and culture. We do believe that a green space with all of these pillars founded in its own, we can bring a very interesting space where people and population and also children can visit and can enjoy the space. So to achieve that, we do need to study urban greens areas in order also to provide knowledge and raise awareness of private and public decision makers, those who are building the green and those who are maintaining the green spaces. And obviously, when we do a public tender, we do need to have this annotation, and we do need to explain them that we need a multifunctional green space. A little bit into detail of the socioeconomy and inclusion. What do we expect to have at this pillar? We need to have at the green space available information to all, to everybody. Audio and braille communication, interactive boards, weather conditions, or public transport timetables where people can have there and be just not always looking to the time to see when what they have to do, when to go out, etc. They need to be interactive with the people. Available facilities and infrastructures. Again, we are talking about socio-economy. We need to have free Wi-Fi. Nowadays, everyone needs Wi-Fi. Everyone uses their cell phones, their tablets, and they need Wi-Fi just to be and enjoy the space, the green space. Food and beverage, so they can spend their lots of time without concernings of needing to go home or other place. And obviously available public water fountains so that the people can be happy, let's say. Public equipment and furniture, tables, chairs, and benches so the people can be comfortable at that space. And obviously, lots of people likes to be with their pets, and why not to have their areas for it? And obviously, this goes to furnitures and infrastructures that we need to have the supports so they can leave the green space as it was. Continuing with socioeconomy and inclusion, we do need to have the rights accessibility. We do need to have the prime conditions to everybody to go there. We are talking about people with reduced mobility, people with some kinds of constraints to go to a public park. We need to have great roads, great trails for the people to walk. We need to have the conditions, the security conditions, and the people needs to be safe. And for that, we do need lights, visibility from the exterior, tree conservation, so they have information and they can feel safe on that, and video surveillance and police presence. With socioeconomy, this is the biggest pillar on this issue that we are talking. The public health. And nowadays, most of the people likes to exercise, and why not to do it in the public green spaces? They can have, we can have their urban fitness equipment. We see is already in some green spaces at our city. Why not have bike circles and for also pedestrians? And with that, we can encourage everyone to adopt the soft modes, so they can go to work in soft modes. Why not? If I do it on a green space, why not? I can do it going to work, for instance. Obviously, it's space limited, but we do need also multiple sports dedicated space, as we see it in a garden that we have in Lido, that we have there a platform that we can play basketball, we can play on all of that, and that's an excuse to be with friends, to be with to interact in the society. We can play, we can go. I can go there if someone is playing there by himself. I can ask him, why not playing once against the other one? It's always good for the society. It's always good for us to encourage this kind of deals. And obviously, the green space management. We always found this as an opportunity for upscaling with potential to career progress. Why not? Why not to the acquisition of new skills, and obviously create green jobs opportunities also. And as I was saying previously, this is all fundamental to increase the participation of citizens, and why not also private companies in the maintenance of the green gardens, and even in the involvement of those green gardens. For the environment, obviously a green space, when we are in a green space in the middle of the city, anywhere else, any city, we notice that we do have a noise pollution reductions. We are pleased to be there. The air quality, it's better. We are more comfortable in terms of environment. And locally, we do need to have the conservation and the preservation and the promotion of our biodiversity. If we adopt our plants, our flora, we will have beautiful gardens that other people that are visiting us doesn't know it. So they will be pleasant to see something new. They will be pleasant to be there and enjoy it, and it will be an excuse to go there. Reduce, obviously, with these well-adopted plants and flora in our gardens, we will reduce the use of pesticides and fertilizers because they are natural from here. And obviously, pest control. We always think when we think about pests, we always think about mosquitoes, about all kind of bugs, but we also need to take attention to rat controls, to cockroach controls, and etc. 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 Also, for the environment, we do need to see the facilities and the structures. We need to have sewage networks, toilets, and rainwater network, because we need to have them right. We don't want to, when it rains, we don't want to be all water where people can't walk on it. No, the green spaces are to be used all year, so raining or not. So they have to be there, and for that we need to have some facilities and infrastructures adequate so they can use it. public equipment and furniture, selected waste collection. We do have some waste collection boxes in our green spaces where we can find and we can have a selection. And everybody who visits us says, okay, I have here a paper, I will put it on the right place. Good for you. It's what they say. And obviously we need to use the local and sustainable materials for doing this. Okay. Now it's a big theme that is climate change. Obviously that we need, when we look at the green garden and we see what kind of issue can this bring us for the climate changes? What is the benefit of it for the climate changes? First of all, for our comfort, we need shades. People who visiting the green spaces need shade because we are in a place. Fortunately, we are in a place that we have an average of temperature during the year of 19 degrees. So it's warmer. It's the people need to be comfortable. We need to bring comfort to the people, and this we can bring it with the shade. And what most pleasant shade do we have? But trees. The trees gave us the pleasant shades of them all. Okay, so let's try to have it a tree selection to have them and give us the comfort that we need and that we expected to have in a green space. Obviously, that we need to have a study the location of the green space. We need to have a study for the kind of trees that we will implement there, and obviously we need to have a multiple vision to build on this green space with the shades that we need to bring it to the people. Okay. But not always is possible to have the shades from the trees, obviously. So what can we do? We can bring some materials that we have, sustainable materials, and to implement them to propose shades of in the local that we need. Obviously, that we are talking about textiles, wood, metal. It's not natural, but it's a way to complement the shades that the trees can bring. And we also we see it in several green spaces that we don't have sometimes the shades where the people are. We see shades at the grass, we see shades at the wall, but not where people are. And where the people are is where we need the shades. Okay, so if it's not possible to bring it through the plants, through the trees, we can always use a secondary and purpose to it, and we can use it and something that is not natural, but the most sustainable way possible. And this is a team that is valorization of renewable energy sources. Nowadays, it is possible to have infrastructures, to have equipments that are not shocking for the landscape. We do have some materials, we do have some ideas, we do have great ideas for instance, solar resources that we have and that we can implement it in our green spaces, and it's not shocking for those who visit. Okay, and obviously we do need to have the promotion of energy efficiency solutions. As for this one, this example says that the lamppost is turned off purposely, so they can save some energy during the empty hours. And obviously that we cannot talk about climate change without talking about water scarcity. We do need for these spaces are very, the green spaces are very demanding in terms of water. and we all know what the climate changes have proposing the dry days, the dry seasons, and what we can do about it. Well, we can have a selection of species with less water needs. We do have to improve and to have an efficient irrigation systems, collecting and storage water of rainwater for irrigation and cleaning purpose. And obviously, we need also to talk about the soil permeability. Okay, this can be a solution so that the rainwater can go to our soil and subsoil and not being wasted on our concrete streets. Okay. And obviously, we need to talk about culture. The culture, why? Because it's an attractive part for the people to go to the green spaces. We can do any kind of culture there. We can do art exhibitions, we can do theater plays, fairs that brings people there. Why not to bring schools, dancing schools and theater schools? Why not bringing them to the parks and exhibit their works, their teaching? Why not to give them? And that will be an opportunity for the people to have a common and a pleasant part of the day in the green park. Okay. So, in a conclusion way, we can say that Madeira and Porto Santo, the region, have a considerable number of urban green spaces that brings benefits for the municipalities and population. Obviously, we do have great multifunctional spaces, but we also have always high potential to improve and become a successful multifunctional urban green space and to be an example for the rest of the countries. For instance, we are in this project not just to collect their good practices, but to show them also our good practice, because we do have a lot of good practices. And this project, the VIRIDIS LOCI, can bring the tools and knowledge for us to improve, to get it better, and then to make, as I told you, an example to all of the rest of our partners. Okay, and that's it for me. Thank you. So I will have my colleague from Italy to present. Okay. We are just adding new presentations.
Não sei de quem isto é que está.
Which one do you want now? The Sardinia? And then I have to move the slides. Just, yeah. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Just give us 1 second for me to.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alessandro Mancoso. I come from Italy, as Ruben said. So I represent ANCI Sardegna, which is the leader of the VIRIDIS LOCI project. And we represent the National Association of Italian Municipalities. Obviously, there are 21 regions in Italy, so there are 21 regional ANCIs. So we are the Sardinia branch. As you may know, Sardinia is the second largest island in the Mediterranean after Sicily. We have around 1,600,000 people living on the island. And what I'd like to do now, after Ambrogio, the first Italian guy, presented an overview of the VIRIDIS LOCI project, Ruben presented the Madeira context. I want to have a brief look to the results that we got from the surveys that we submitted in Sardinia, so that you can compare the situation from Madeira, Sardinia, and then my Spanish colleague will show the results of the Balearic Islands. So you get an overview of each peculiar context. Something that has not been told yet is that the rationale for including having these partners in the project was that we wanted to include islands because they tend to be obviously isolated context because of geography and the disadvantaged areas. And you probably know that from experience being from Madeira. Although Sardinia and the Balearic Island are not so far away from the mainland as Madeira is, we do have a permanent, let's say, disadvantage compared to the mainland. And this disadvantage reflects also on the innovation and, in this case, the management of public areas. So what we wanted to do was to include 3 insular contexts and one partner, which comes from the Czech Republic. He's going to give a presentation afterwards, who has a lot of expertise in this field and can bring to the project a more Northern European approach regarding managing green areas. So we surveyed, Sardinia has 378 municipalities, if I'm not wrong. We surveyed a sample of them, and 14 of them returned the results. Out of those 14 municipalities, you see the second one, Cagliari, is the capital of the island, and it has 150,000 inhabitants. 150,000 inhabitants. And the second city that you see, like on the second row, the first city that you see on the second row, Sassari, is the second biggest city, with 125,000 inhabitants, just to give you an idea of the sample. Whereas the other municipalities you see there are all below 10,000 people. The first, I think it's like lagging behind. Okay. So sorry, I didn't have the time to translate the slide, but hold on. So this is playing up. Okay. So the first question was whether your municipalities has a geographical information system, and it was an explanation of what it. I don't know what's happening here.
So you need to go to.
Yeah.
You need to go to the page that you want in the computer, and then a few seconds later, it will appear here. That is because of the live stream.
Hold on a second, because I'm already on the third slide, so I'm here. It should stay this way, right?
Yeah, just leave it like that.
No.
Wait. Yeah. It's over there.
This one. But you see, like, if I click on it. Sorry about this, but anyway, so as you can see, 60.
And your computer is right? It will be right.
So as you can see, almost 65% of the sample said they do not have a geographical information system. So they don't use IT tools in order to have an inventory of the tree heritage in each municipalities, whereas 43% said that they do have this tool. Second slide that is going to appear at some point is in Italy we do have legislation that imposes to each municipality to plant a tree for each child that gets born, and you might think this is like very forward as a piece of legislation, but you see that 62% of the sample do not comply with the rule, and whereas 37% of the sample do comply. One reason for this might be that, like, Italy is the country with the lowest birth rate in Europe. The next slide that you'll see is we asked them a question regarding whether they plant autochthonous plants or alloctonous plants. And most of them, they say that like 75% plant Mediterranean plants, and 25% of the sample source plants from elsewhere. The next question was related to another piece of legislation that we have in Italy, which imposes to public administrators to leave at the end of their mandate. In Italiano, it's called the bilancio del verde. It's like the bottom line of their administration in terms of what they are leaving behind for the next politicians to take over regarding managing of green areas. And as you can see, the sheer majority, so 80% of the sample do not do this. So they are not compliant with the legislation. This is a bit of a repetition because we asked them. Well, I'm just going to skip this slide. 100% of the sample says that they are interested in getting a geographical information system. This was like basically the same question that we asked at the very beginning. But what is relevant here is that like all of them said they want to upgrade the tools, the instruments, in order to better manage green area and better plan green areas. So we're not talking only about managing green areas, but also we're talking about urbanistic. So it's like it's at the crossroads between green areas and urban planning. Another thing which is quite important is the question whether they have a tree inventory of the municipality. And in Sardinia, we saw that 81% of them don't have this tree heritage. So basically, they don't know how many trees they have, where they have them, what species they are, etc. The following question was regarding whether they had attributed a risk definition for critical trees, which translated means how do you rate trees in your municipality that are dangerous, like how dangerous they can be, and like what the negative impacts of one of these trees falling or whatever, like a branch, etc., can have on the people at the end of the day, or people, car, etc. So this slide basically reflects what the slide before said. If they don't have a tree inventory, of course they are not going to able to define how dangerous a tree is. So 80% of them cannot do it. 13% of them said that they can name trees in order to determine how risky they are, and a very small percentage said that they do not know. The following question was regarding the management of green areas in terms of whether they have an in-house gardening service, whether they outsource the service to another firm, an external firm, and whether they have a shared management of green areas between municipalities. The option in orange, I'm going to translate it in simple terms for you. In Sardinia, we have very small municipalities that taken alone, don't have the resources to manage green areas. So we asked them a question whether they pool their resources together in order to have the service done. So what we see is 60% of the sample resort to external firms for the managing of parks and green areas, whereas 40% have an internal gardening service within the municipality. We asked also a question of what they do on the 21st of November, which is the National Day of the Tree in Italy. So 33% of the municipalities they just do tree planting, the ones in blue. Then we have 40% that organizes awareness raising events. 20% of them does The other question was regarding tree replacement. How, if your municipality does a tree replacement plan, and 60% of them do that, whereas a 40% just keep the same trees all the time. Out of this sample, the next slide show how much they replace trees. So in a second, the slide will show up. You'll see that 80% replaces trees by a rate that varies between 0 and 5%, so very little. 30% replaces trees with a rate that goes from 5 to 20%, so a fifth of the total tree inventory, and another very small sample goes up to 50%. The following question was whether in your municipality there are technicians that deal with green areas. 73% of them do have technicians that do that. 26% of them don't. Out of those 73% that said they do have technicians, we realized yesterday, because like yesterday we had an internal meeting with the partners in order to decide what the next activities, what the next steps are going to be. And we realized that that 73% of people are, yes, technicians for the green areas, but they're not specialized. And this is what this project wants to bring to the table, like more training, more specialization regarding this very important sector, and also like raising awareness regarding the importance of green areas, also in terms of tourism and added value for the municipality. The next slide is quite interesting because you'll get an idea of how much these municipalities spend on an annual base for doing this, for managing the municipalities. So as I told you before, the second one is the capital region of Sardinia, and they spend 9 million euros. Then you see further down the second largest city, Sassari. They spend 2.5 million, and the rest of the towns, which as I told you, count less than 10,000 people, they spend very little, apart from Dorgali, which spends 100,000 euros. And also the fifth municipality, they weren't able to give me a figure. So they said, we just do it on a budget, and we only ensure that trees are pruned. And then we come to the hardcore of this project. The question was whether the people that are devoted to managing green areas in the municipalities are continuously trained or not. And you see that the sheer majority, 86%, are not, whereas 13% do follow a training program. So you see there is a lot to do, and that's why we wrote this project, because like we realized that there was a need for training and specialized knowledge. Does your municipality feel the need to train your workers? And you see that 93% said yes, and the rest said no. So there is a need, of course. The following slide will show you how they rate the state of green areas in the municipalities. So they most of them they said that the most important thing that they want to have sorted is the maintenance of green areas, and then it follows managing. So we've got a lack of maintenance skills, but we also have a lack of managing skills, and as I said before, it's at the crossroads between management and urban planning. What benefits do you think is most important for municipalities in terms of what's the added value that green areas can give to your municipality? And what they said is the quality of the air is the asset that they value the most. Then biodiversity conservation, which is the next to the last, and it's also very interesting that they said the third one, it's diminishing sound pollution, because obviously green areas function as a buffer for like to diminish sounds and noise. The next slides, I'm gonna go very quickly regarding this, because we asked them an open-ended question regarding what the biggest problem is in the municipality regarding green areas, and most of them said lack of personnel. Some others said that trees are just too old in some sites. The first one, as you can read, is lack of projects and planning. And the next to the last is quite interesting, because it said there is no study, so there is no awareness of tree species, and the plants present several problems for pedestrians. So I'm assuming they're talking about the roots of the trees that just like break the streets and like the pavements. Some of them talk about vandalism and the abandonment of these areas to waste and rubbish. Sorry, I'm going just very quickly here because it's just a repetition. And this last slide, I think it's important, because like we asked them whether they can flag plant problems in terms of diseases, parasites, etc. And you see, like on the left, there is the municipality, on the right, the problem they named. And we have the capital city said red palm, we evil is, and you see like it repeats continuously. And also parasites on the holm oaks. The municipality of Arborea said some tree pests are of concern, such as processionary moth, Lymantria dispar, Tomicus destruens. Again, you see the second biggest city, Sassari, said we evil, and they keep repeating themselves, processionary moth on the holm oaks, and the Tortoli said parasite infestation in the oleanders and Judas trees along the avenue and some squares. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So I hope that like this is of help for you as well to see like how things look like in another island, in another European island. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm gonna give the floor to Pedro.
us again. Yes. Okay. Remember to just guide you from here. Okay.
So, enjoying the conference so far. My name is Pedro Bofi. I represent Felipe, which is okay. I think we're right.
Just let me.
I'll try not to put anything. Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I would like to be very quickly. I would like to explain you very quickly the results of the survey, which actually show which is the situation in the Balearics Islands, and as in Sardinia or in Madeira, we have carried out a survey, and the sample was just a moment here. And the sample was divided. The sample was divided. Here it is. The sample was divided. The sample of the survey was divided in these three groups, which I have already explained you, which are Mallorca, Menorca, Ibiza, and Formentera, the Petiusas, which I explained you, the 20 islands. The capital of the Balearic Islands is Palma, probably. Maybe some of you have traveled there, with a population of 400,000 inhabitants, roughly, and it's the municipality which actually has more resources, more personnel, more funding devoted to the care of the arboreal heritage. Well, I have taken one city in one island, a very touristic one. I have to say that the tourism industry is very important in our island, in our community, and I guess that tourist enterprise value, in some sense, not always, in some sense, the importance of having like you. I think you have a very pretty island, very well cared for. I haven't seen a graffiti since I am here. You have extensive green areas, very well cared for. Congratulations. I guess we are not so at the same standard, probably a little lower. But I have taken Calviá, which is a very touristic city, and the others are between these ranks of population, right? We'll come here again. This sample covers a section of 48 of the entire population. Covers 48 of the population. Okay. No, I think it's more interesting just to give you a gist, to give you an abstract of the results and the topics which have been asked. The attitude, it's always, I explain you a bit about the federation. The federation is an association which is a non-profit association, non-governmental, we could say, association, which actually is integrated by the government of all the local bodies. Local bodies, I mean municipalities, which actually are governed by a town hall, and councils, which are one by each island, which actually govern the isle. All the tasks regarding to tree maintenance are carried out by municipalities. So the first question was, what do you think, or what was related to geographic information systems? The use of this kind of technology is becoming more and more known, more and more popular between technicians, but I guess it's more related to urban planning, more than tree heritage. And they say that only 20% of the municipalities have a tree heritage geographic information system, whereas 70% wishes to have one. 40% of this 70% wishes to have it in digital format. So there is a demand, you can appreciate the demand for this kind of technology, which is quite natural, the digital format in the internet era. Needless to say that all the results of the surveys and all the work which is done with our partners, and I stop here. I would like to thank Hugo for all the arrangements he has made, and his colleague for arranging this meeting and this venue. Thank you, Hugo. So there is a demand for digital format in a geographic information system. That's right. Okay. Tree inventory. I was quite shocked about this because I thought nobody will have a risk assessment or a tree inventory, and the response was 60% of the municipalities have a tree inventory, whereas 70% has a classification of risks. That's just a comment. I guess that mayors are becoming more and more aware about risks. And when I say risk, I mean risk in general. Risk of infrastructure, risk of trees, risk of everything. We live in some kind of, that's a personal impression. After COVID, we live in some kind of society of risks. Just a comment. But they are becoming more and more aware. That's important. Management systems, they say that 20% of the municipalities carry out the task with own means internally. That's very common in small municipalities with a population below 50,000. They have a group of operators, manual operators. I mean, not university, not technicians, which are called the brigade. And this brigade in these small towns take care a bit of everything. They paint a wall of a public building, they prune a tree, they clean a street. So training for them related to tree management and safety, I think is very important. The other 20%, they hire an external contractor. This is something that the Spanish law permits. It's completely law. External contractor and do everything. You pay an amount, I guess you have the same here, you pay an amount of money and they care for the trees. And 60% the rest, more or less, and 60% they do jointly. They do internally and they have an external contractor. So let's move to something more fun, which are celebrations. The day of the tree, the day of the nature. I was a bit surprised here because 60% have these celebrations. In Spain, and I guess in all Europe, I guess fostered by environmental associations, the harmony with nature, the harmony with forests, taking care of nature is becoming more and more popular. And 60% celebrates these days. But there is a small trick here, because 30% actually is an event only devoted to tree plantation, which actually, I think the idea of Italy to have a law which actually obliges to plant a tree for its newborn is quite nice. We don't have that in Spain nor in the Balearic Islands. And the other 30% do it in another context. I mean, they can celebrate something, let's say a saint patron of the city, which is very popular in Spain, and enact a couple of the jours or a section of the celebration is devoted to tree planting, or 10% a walk in the forest, or 10% a conference which actually enhance the value of nature for society. Another important thing is substitution rates, because at the end, as every human as well, trees die. Substitution rate, 80% substitutes from 0 to 20, and 20 substitutes from 20 to 50 per annum every year. So you take that into account and you compare with your municipality. Another thing which is, I think, very important is funding. In the survey, I asked for how much money do you fund each year for this program? This is very difficult to say, because some municipalities gave me a number. Well, the salaries are included, the material, the extra hour are included. No, the salary are not included, but the social security is included. So it's a bit rough. The amount I'm giving you is a bit rough, which is, I work it out, and is 30 euros per person. So in the capital, which are 400,000, that makes 12 million, which is, you can compare with you. Continuous training, very important as well. 70% of the workers, and we have discussed with our colleagues and with our partners, safety and a general knowledge of tree management. 70% of the employees receive continuous training, and 100%, which is quite surprising, are very happy with it. That's good. And to finish now, the two last questions, which were, which management areas are more important for you? They say new projects, I mean, carrying out new projects is number one, And green zone maintenance is number one as well. I mean, the most important items are doing something, and after that, you maintain it. But the less rank were management. That gives me the impression that they are focused on day-to-day work. There is no strategic planning. There is not special training. There is no technology. We have a budget, we have a personnel, we have a means, and we have to carry out a task, and that's it. That surprised me. And the last one, which are the benefits, the response is the response is not surprising. The municipality commitment in the care for nature and fight against climate change. I mean, I take it if you want as a political stand. I mean, everybody's concerned about climate change. Everybody's is related, is concerned about these all related issues. This is number one. And the last one, I think, like Italy, is noise reduction and creating an aesthetically pleasing environment, which is more abstract. So for me, taking into account these two answers, I guess that all the people who are concerned here try to do their best in a day-to-day work with a certain amount of money and means, and they follow, or they try to just to do what has to be done, which is fight against climate change, have a park in the best possible condition, and that's it. If you have any question, I will be very glad to answer it. If not, that's it. Thank you.
So I will have to add the new presentation also. Just check it here. Mic's on.
Just this one.
Just for
Partners forms.
There is a delay. It's now.
Okay.
There is a little delay.
Uh-huh. Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here in Madeira. It's a different climate from the autumnal season in Czech Republic at the moment. So nice to see that, and nice to see the plant life and the greenery around Madeira, and interesting to hear from our friends about the management and about the tropical, semi-tropical climate conditions that you work in as well. I recently was visiting Thailand during the rainy season, but it didn't rain. So an interesting experience. I'm here as a representative from AB International, as you can see on the screen. It's a non-profit organisation with a focus on the quality, particularly the quality of personnel and safety of technicians, safety of operators. And we developed a number of years ago. In fact, this is the 10th anniversary of AB International. And we developed on the back of original Erasmus Plus, or previously Leonardo European funded projects. So it's nice to still be here 10 years after that and to be developing and moving forward all the time in a very dynamic way with many sectors, the green sector being core to our background. And we go back as far as 2011, 2009, developing standards on the European level between a number of countries, specifically in the beginning for chainsaw operators, because it was a high-risk sector that needed addressed. Again, safety is our developed has increased from one in the very beginning 10 years ago. We have somewhere around, at the moment there's more been developed, about 65 skills certifications for operators based on safety. That's the #1 priority. And as you can see on the website, you can find, we have an online, in the center there you can see an online, what we call an e-passport, electronic passport. So an employer can find someone qualifies through this project that we're currently working on with the partners. Listen to, for example, in the horticultural sector, we look at qualification, tree inspections, a big focus, big interest because of risks, etc. We develop a tree inspection certification, we pilot test it, we have expert groups and committees that bring their experience and knowledge to the table, and then we roll that programme out as a certified programme, which is accepted across all our partners in many different countries. So that's one aspect of our input practically into the current project here that you've been listening to for some in the morning sessions. You can see VIRIDIS LOCI has a portal on the website. It's under development. Again, I think the ICT platform has been mentioned, and that's a big part of our role as well, is to bring the platform to provide the resources, the library of resources for instructors, for technicians, for operators, and have a lot of information out there that can be publicly downloaded. Because how can you improve safety if it's difficult to access the awareness raising information that people need? Because the more aware, the less likelihood they'll have an accident. But to be aware, they need to have access not only to the training, but to the information to support that, to consolidate that. So that's a big part of our aspect into this. As I mentioned, the e-passport's publicly available 24 hours, 7 days a week. So as an employer, or originally as an employer myself, I could find someone from another country, find what level their qualifications are on, and understand, oops, destroying the, hopefully it's still working. Thank you. I'll try and be more careful. I suppose that's just an introduction to what the organisation is. Around 65 skills, technical qualifications mapped across Europe. We use the European qualification framework as a basis and other international frameworks. And we work a lot with experts in their areas, whether it's forestry, horticulture, arboriculture, etc. We work with the right people with the right knowledge and know-how in those sectors. And we have a large membership of partners now, somewhere over 65. They consist of higher education, further education, public employees, and private training providers. We try to bridge that gap because it's the best of both worlds. And we know from research we've done in previous projects that the private sector is particularly at risk to accidents and fatalities. We found, generally speaking, that in public sector in comparison, the accident fatality rates usually sit around 75% higher across European studies. So there's a big difference between the private and public sector. The public sector contracts, employs the private sector. So there's a good role to work more closely with both sectors. So ABA is trying to bridge that gap between those bodies to try and help the transfer of knowledge and information, skills and techniques, and keep it up to date. Someone mentioned earlier, continuous professional development. That's also core. So when we develop certifications, we develop a demand to keep that certification up to date. So there's an expiry date, and there's different levels depending on experience and competence of the operators. I think I should move the slides. There's a slight delay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And you can see we also have a training academy. That's for the training providers and the members of ABA, where they have resources, they can download resources. And the most up-to-date documents are kept here, so they don't need to email, they don't need to ask. They just go there and they find the most up-to-date version of the documents. Oh, just before me. As I mentioned, 10 years ago, it's our anniversary this year. We've just been in the United Kingdom at a forestry show celebrating that anniversary. And it's ironic because we came on the back of the European Chainsaw certification. As you can see below, why did we develop it? What is ABBA? I've just mentioned the priorities of ABA is safety. It's non-profit. The higher education, the further education bodies and membership that established and founded the organisation made that their first demand, that the body should be non-profit so it can focus on the job in hand, which is raising awareness of operators and reducing accidents and fatalities to operators. And the photograph you saw there was just a range of different assessors from different countries. The annual workshops, we hold annual workshops across a range of different countries to maintain the skills of the examiners and trainers. And many of them come from different sectors, not only public sector, as I said, but also the private sector. They communicate, they transfer knowledge and skills. And in that way, the public sector can engage with the private sector and help them to see that holistically there's a safety culture and it's more important than purely just on the ground business level. I can see an example at the bottom. It's very small, but these are the mapping standards when we developed. We looked at all the different countries from the initial project for chainsaws as an example. We mapped the standards that existed in many countries that don't exist, which is nice because we can develop a basic template, provide it to those countries, and they can use that and adapt it to their conditions, because local conditions do vary, and that needs to be taken into account. The certification can't be black and white and must have some room to undertake differences in cultures, differences in activities and priorities, different techniques that are applied in different tree species, for example, in different conditions. Anti-check demonstrate sharpening, one of our Slovakian trainers and assessors in the photograph there. And one of our Danish from the University of Copenhagen with the chainsaw there. Razvan Kampu, who's a photograph at the top of this. We published a book this year, Chainsaw Technical Guide, mainly aimed again at instructors to give them a reference manual. And it's based on our European, now international standards. And the other chap with the column Thai happens to be the person speaking here just now. So that kept us busy during the COVID time. But it's nice to have that reference manual there now. And many of the instructors, assessors I spoke to recently find it a very useful reference document. So again, it's an example of the types of resources. We're looking at resources not only for trainees, candidates, but also for the people teaching them. One of the other projects we undertook, LOLA, which means lifting operations, lifting equipment regulations, all about the legislation that came in from the European directives about managing the risks involved with working at heights. As you can see, we work with PET, so some of the other organisations, Kong, some of the manufacturers of climbing harnesses, ropes, etc. In Czech Republic, Lanex is one of the biggest European manufacturers of climbing ropes and used for various purposes. It can be arborists for tree work, it can be cavers, it can be rescue services, various types. And we work with all of them. We try to work as much as possible with the industry. The industry's up to date, it's moving faster. Keep it up to date with technology and equipment, and particularly with your arborists in the green sector. It's something that is very fast moving, so you have to keep very much up to date with what's happening there. And obviously, the more equipment's in use, the more opportunities and more exposure there is to risk if it's not understood. And that's why we have very regular workshops with the arborist trainers through ABA. And you can see someone inspecting damaged ropes there. We actually worked on a device, one of our partners, Mendel University, again based in Czech Republic, and we have a prototype device for looking at ropes, scanning it with lasers and measuring it to the European standards for rope allowances. So the breaking strain, and you can see in the slide there that some examples of the old prototypes, and we've been making these devices with the university. And we have a more advanced device now, but we haven't released it yet because we're not happy it's been fully, thoroughly tested. So that hopefully that'll be another advantage to the arborist industry that we can contribute towards in our small way. And so you can see some of the testing devices that are used to check this equipment's still. It's very interesting. You have carabiners. Some of them have a 23 kilonewtons, 2.3 ton braking load. Some of them we measured, we expected they'd be weaker. They were actually stronger. So the interesting results. So there's a lot of research work that we get involved in as well, because we want to keep up to date with what's happening in the sectors that we're involved in certifying. And that means the certification stays up to date. It's reviewed every 5 years. Candidates need to re-qualify every 5 years. So we're built in a demand for continual professional development into the certification process. Again, just some non-destructive tests for arborists and work at height equipment being undertaken in one of our projects. And so how ABA is developed is we looked at as a non-profit with very few members in the early days. Now we have a lot of members as we relied on projects to give us some source of income, not only to develop the materials, the resources, but to keep the organisation moving. There's nothing worse than being involved in a European project. 3 years later, it stops and everything stops. And it's disheartening if you can't keep that momentum moving and develop it further. And also from a European perspective, you want to see that your funding has been carried on, it's sustainable longer term. So it's nice that we're still doing that now. Another project you can't quite see, the vet safety project, was more focused on instructors, trainers in the workplace, trainers in education facilities, bring them together, let them exchange knowledge and techniques. And there's a lot that can be gained in these workshops outside of the workshop, if you understand what I mean, in the sidelines. I've watched a lot of trainers discuss all different techniques and learn from each other unofficially, and it's a great resource. And I think that's why it's good post-COVID to hold more of these face-to-face workshops and exchange all that knowledge and information, which might not be apparent at the time. Again, this is one of the indoor sections you can see here. I think that's the University of Copenhagen. I can't quite remember. I think it is the forestry school. And again, with the Slovenian colleagues, in this slide, you can see one of the conferences. We try and get involved as many conferences. I help to set up conferences because the knowledge should filter all the way up to management level from the operator, from the ground up, as they say. And so here it was a management conference. Predominantly, in this case, it was relating to ice damage. And that links again to someone mentioned climate change before. And in Slovenia, the ice storms that were fairly regular have become more regular. And from my understanding with our colleagues or members from Slovenia, something that was happening in a 15-year cycle is now happening in 5 years or less, even 3 years. So they've got issues and they need to develop how to deal with that in the forestry, because ice damaged trees are very, very hazardous area to work in, very high risk. And so something that we were discussing at that particular conference and looking forward planning. I have to wait because I can't remember every slide, so. Oh, and again, another project, the Game Changer project with the Hungarian partners and a few others, Danish partners, etc. Look predominantly, as you can see there, soft skills coaching. And again, the idea is you've got hard skills, you've got soft skills. I've been a training instructor for a number of years in the UK myself, so I understand this activity, this sector, particularly the green sector, because my background is in the green sector. And you need to have hard skills, you need to have the technical skills, you need to know what you're teaching and training. It needs to be safe, you need to be up to date, but you also need the soft skills, because your range, as you understand, the people that come along to training courses, there's a very wide range. They can be managers. Recently in Thailand, I had managers in a course. I thought they were chainsaw operators, and I apologise for being very blunt with them, but it was for safety reasons, and they appreciated that. But you can understand you've got a range of different people, different personalities, and you have to learn as a trainer. I mean, I don't know, I would assume it's something to do with psychology, but you have to learn how to adapt to get the best from that person and to make sure they go away learning something. For me personally, from my experience, it's awareness raising. If they go away from a training course more aware of the dangers, they're less likely to encounter that danger, and that's the key point for me from a training perspective. But that's down to soft skills more than hard skills. The technical knowledge is fine. Most trainers have that experience, they have the technical knowledge, and if they're self-aware, they keep that up to date. It's the soft skills and how to get that knowledge, how to transfer that knowledge and competence when it's practiced practically to the candidates, to the trainees. And that's the difficult part. So we looked at the projects for that to help develop coaching guidance, instructor handbooks, etc., training videos, and we're beginning to collect a collection of those on the platform for the instructors, the training providers to utilise. The soft skills is probably more important, because if you can't get the message across, you have a lower standard of trainee then. And again, it was putting a lot of the trainers in situations to do presentations like here just now, and to work on all the different aspects of that. So it was a very interesting project. It got trainers only thinking about how to deliver, how to provide their training in a way that it will be understood. And it was pilot tested amongst trainers and then with cold trainees to make sure that when we produced the guidance covered all the potential areas that trainers needed to know. One of our more recent projects, the European Arborist project, looked at utility sector, because utility sector, again, is a high-risk sector, working near overhead power lines, as you can see in the slides there, highly dangerous occupation. There's no room, there's no scope really for risk in these operations. And I understand with my background, some of the accidents are mainly fatalities that occurred in this sector. So it was very interesting to have some involvement in that project as well. And we worked with a range of partners in that. Spain, one of the biggest partners was Endesa, who is a very large electrical power supplier. So they gave us a lot of input. They helped to direct us in the right direction to developing a selection. We have 3 levels of utility arborist certifications now, something we didn't find anywhere else in Europe, so we thought we need to develop it because it is a highly dangerous sector on a European level. You can see some of the health and safety advisors from Spain, from Ireland, from Romania, from Latvia. You can see Bogi from Italy on the left-hand side there. So again, some of our partners are links from the past. Another recent project, the ESTA project, Again, looking at training, because we looked at we've developed, as I say, you know, at least 65 operator qualifications now. So we've done a lot of work on setting minimum safety standards for technical operators anywhere in the green sector, forestry, arboriculture, and a few other sectors, construction sector, using machinery, for example. So we wanted, again, put more input into trainers. We felt there was still a gap in setting minimum standards for trainers and helping trainers just to go and learn more how to train, get different international candidates, give them different scenarios, and let them learn from that and deal with it. So that was a very, very useful project. And again, we had advisors like Jerry, who you can see here, is an IOS specialist. He's an advisor, and he overseen the content, the technical content of these programs to make sure we were on track with that. You can see in the left, catastrophe site and forestry, one of the scenarios that we looked at with forestry trainers, but we had trainers in different sectors. Yeah. And again, one of the recent projects that's coming to a close that we're involved in is a European forest machinery operations project. So again, looking at big forest machines, harvesters. Machines are becoming more common, even in the green sector. Harvesters have been made to use more machines for safety reasons, quite rightly in a lot of cases, using mobile platforms for work at heights, using machines with different grabs and attachments at the end to safely fell dangerous trees without climbing up these trees in a rope, etc. So it's an area that's increasing, so we thought we'd pay attention to that. And again, we're listening to the member organisations and other partners to see, you know, and again, where are the next steps? Where should we be looking? Where should we be developing? And the first thing we do is we develop expert groups. We bring them together and we look at, right, let's set the objectives. What are these experts saying? Let's not waste time. They know what they're looking at. Get them together and let's set the objectives and go forward with that. So I think with the European forest machines, with forwarders, harvesters, standard forestry, loaders, I think we've issued somewhere. The project's not finished, still has 2 months to go. But so far we're ahead of schedule. We've live tested somewhere over 200 candidates in some of the partner countries. We finish in a few weeks in Latvia with our final live candidates. But it's very successful, so we're quite happy with the progress in that project. And again, it was something that our partners and members asked for. So before we applied for Erasmus funding, you know, we listened to everybody. We listened to where's the demand, where's the need, and I'd pay attention to it. And again, you can just see some of the sites. On the left's a typical site in Ireland, and on the right's a typical mixed pine site in Czech Republic. So again, we're pilot testing, but not only we're pilot testing in different forests, different environments, different countries with different trainers to make sure we can maximise the standards to the best minimum level we can find. Again, you recognise some of the people in this slide. They're here today. And again, it comes back to this current project, the VIRIDIS LOCI. I think you've heard a lot about it. And all I'm doing is trying to give you a viewpoint where ABA comes in. We're also surveying Czech Republic. Initially, a lot of the information is very similar to Balearic Islands, but there are differences. There are differences to the historical heritage. So it'll be interesting to get the final results from Czech Republic and contribute to our partners the knowledge on that and go forward and look at where we can put some input into developing safer operators. That's our core key interest. And attached to that, obviously, is a platform, the resources, publicly available resources, and there'll be a lot of work in translations into national languages as well. So we're looking at it as the upskilling in the green sector. There are skills in the green sector, and if we can contribute in a multinational environment to learning techniques, upskilling techniques, then that's another core focus for ourselves. Yeah, so that's it. So we look forward, we hope we can help as much as possible, and if you have any questions, please don't be scared to ask. If not, it's been enjoyable.
Question with me, because with this we have finished our presentations, but we will still have a couple of minutes for question and answers. If you would like to give us any question, please feel free.
Everybody's quiet.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah, please.
say one. The colleague of Italy.
Italy, Alessandro, please join us, please.
This colleague,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm scared now.
Just an answer for you. Question for you, sorry.
A question. You talk about in your survey
Mhm.
about tree replacements. That's why I question on survey was relevance to the
Well, actually, like Billy is like more than I'm not an agronomist by trade, actually. But your question is like why municipalities should be replacing trees or
yes, replacement is cutting ones and substituting or placing another.
it's more substitution. What we call in a forestry sense restocking. So you might plant, I don't know, 10,000 trees one year. You can't expect 10,000 trees to survive unless you're in an absolutely perfect environment, which we don't really exist in. So there's a natural percentage of plants and trees that will die in the first growing season. And the critical season is the first 3 years normally. That's when they really depend. And mainly because of transplants, they've lost the fine roots that carry the moisture. So it's a critical period for the first 2 to 3 years until they develop more fine roots where they can absorb moisture on their own. So that's why water, even where I'm from, Scotland, is still quite important. Because sometimes they might have a dry spell, and amazingly, even there, the gardeners still have to water the plants, otherwise they'll lose that stock. And it's all money and time. It's a lot of extra maintenance for a long-term gain, because if you maintain it for 3 years, you usually have them for the rest of the life after that. But there is a natural loss, and it varies in country conditions. Scotland is quite low because it's a high rainfall, so that's not usually the biggest factor there. But still, we tend to lose 15% of the planting stock per year. So we get a substitution rate to help keep that top to replace for it. And you have areas where there's protected areas for mature trees, for example, tree preservation officers or protection officers. And a lot of the local authorities, and from my background in the UK, have a 3-2-1 replacement. So if someone removes a tree illegally, they're usually made to flag free, and they're made to pay the cost. It's good for local authorities. They're made to pay the cost of maintaining those trees at least for the first 3 critical years of their life. So there's different substitution factors depending upon the situation.
Okay. Thank you.
and I was crucial in replying your question, wasn't I? I was.
So I believe we are on time. So if you have any questions, any further questions, you can always contact us. You can always check our partner, regional partner, which is us, REM. You can always check the project news, and you can always follow us. And again, if you have any question, please feel free to contact us and put it yourself. Okay. So thank you very much for your presence. Thank you very much for those who are online also, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.